Welcome to Business Casual, the show where entrepreneurs find inspiration to start and grow their online business. Today's guest is Bonnie Gillespie, Hollywood coach and creator of Self-Management for Actors. Today, she's going to talk to us about running a successful online coaching business and online courses. Welcome, Bonnie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
All right, Bonnie, how would you describe your business to people?
I am the author of a book called Self-Management for Actors, and I wrote it in 2003. It has become curriculum in colleges and universities around the world, and I tour and teach and speak about self-management for actors, which is basically the business side of a creative career. I used to say it was specifically for actors, but over time it's become for showrunners and screenwriters and managers and agents and fellow casting directors. So the short version of what I do is I help creatives have a more joy-filled experience with their business while giving themselves a lot of room for creative expression.
How did you end up teaching actors in the first place? Was there a need in the marketplace that you found?
I basically wrote the book that I needed. I had been a kid actor and I moved to Los Angeles right after college. And so I got to LA early 20s, having been in a minor market. I grew up in Atlanta, so I had had success there and thought that it would all translate to LA, and learned very quickly that, you know, LA is the Super Bowl of acting and it's a completely different business. I mean, LA is a factory town, and there's a different relationship with show business than what we're used to if we come from smaller markets. And I basically created a book in my 30s that was the thing that would have helped me in my 20s stay an actor. But what I ended up doing was leaning into my journalism degrees and interviewing casting directors. And this was actually an actor freelance survival job of mine, was interviewing casting directors for Backstage. And after I interviewed several hundred people, I kept being asked questions about patterns. Like, actors would write in and say, what is it that what's the rule? People choose this creative career and then they want to know what the rules are. And it's so they can have fun coloring outside the lines, but they need to know where the lines are. So it'd be like, well, how long is a demo reel? And what should be on an actor's website? Or how does the bio have to be third person? Just all sorts of questions that weren't being covered in anywhere, in school for sure at the time. And I basically took all the emails that I had written back to people who asked questions about my column and took the best written ones and turned it into the book, which is now, as we're talking, in the fourth edition, fourth printing, and as I mentioned, a college textbook in many places in the world, which is phenomenal to me that it's now a part of the business foundation for a lot of creatives.
In terms of your online business, I know that you offer coaching and online courses, and I imagine that each of them come with their own set of challenges. Could you talk about that a little bit?
The coaching part of things evolved really organically out of my column. I had been writing for Backstage starting in the late 90s into the early 2000s, and people would write in and say, can I take you to lunch and pick your brain? So like most coaches get started over a chopped salad. That's what you could pay me to coach you back in 2001, 2002. And I didn't even identify as a coach at the time. It was just, I'm hanging out with somebody and talking shop. And as that evolved into something that, oh, wow, there's actually something here that is a business. There's a coaching business. Of course, I did what most coaches do and said, how do I put myself in more places at the same time? How do I scale? And one of my students actually, because we started teaching self-management for actors as a course in 2008, and in LA, we would gather and put chairs in a circle and teach the principles of self-management for actors. We had a student who came in, and she's an Emmy-winning sound recordist. And she said, I know I'm not an actor, but I really respond to what's in your book, and I really want to be a part of what you teach. And she took my class and then moved into master class. And then she said, I need to talk to you because I think what you're doing could go online. And this was in 2011. And I had done a couple of online things before. I had done collaborations in like 2009, 2010, where we would shoot video and then air it onto a web channel through almost like through WordPress, and people would log in and then comment live as the videos were replaying. So I had done some of that, but this was the first time that I actually went, wait, I can actually take what I'm teaching and make it curriculum and create a framework for it that can exist online. And then wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, people have the opportunity to tap into the knowledge base. And so I think as far as the challenges that you asked about with that, it's been really getting clear on what types of things could happen over that chopped salad in 2002 and become more structured and more general so that it could apply to more people, and then let the specificity come in the coaching sessions.
Was developing a course something that just kind of came naturally to you then?
So our initial online course launched in 2011, and it was a 12-week program that was basically 3 weeks on each of the 4 pillars of self-management for actors. So by then we had already been teaching the class in person in LA, and when I would tour to New York or Chicago or wherever, I would bring the course there. We had already been teaching it in a format of 4 pillars. So if we would do 4 pillars over a month in LA class, I said, taking that online, we're not going to be sitting together for 3-4 hours per week and emailing between classes. This is going to be online. Let's make it a 12-week program. And so that was the first version. There was then a request from people saying, I want to stay plugged in. And so we had graduates, and we're like, how do we serve this community? How do we make them not go away? And they're asking, what do I do next? What are my next steps with this? And we said, we didn't think about that. And so we created an ongoing online masterclass, which is where we just do a weekly call and have a message board for questions and comments between. And that responsiveness to what people were saying they wanted has always been a part of our business, even before going online. We're currently running a program called Getting Gear for the Next Tier, which is our flagship course, and it absolutely revolutionized our business. It took us from running a small business to running a small empire. And it has really changed our relationship with the amount of reach that we're able to have, and has made a big difference in our financial picture, which is, for small business owners, a really big turning point, to be able to reinvest in the business that we've built in ways like never before, which then, of course, creates massive impact and all things that we want, and a lot of freedom. This version of the program that we run now is a 100-day membership program. And in order to be a part of the ongoing maintenance of it, you have to do that initial 100 days. And I remember reading when we first created it in late 2016, you're going to have an attrition rate of about 70% by the time you're 3 months in. So people will pay for ongoing membership for about 3 months, and then they're going to bounce out. And so we had prepared for that in budgeting. It took 15 months for us to hit the 10% attrition mark. And I went, I don't know what we're doing inside that's making people never want to go away, but we need to now make this more available to people outside our initial circle that we know in person, because obviously we've got something that the more people get into it, the more it's going to benefit the business as well as our business, but show business as well.
Interesting. So here at GrowthLab, we're really big on building sales funnels and lead generation. So I'd love to know, do you have a lead generation process?
I don't. And that's something that I know I need. And I think this is where I have gotten very clear on my zone of genius and where I'm just going to be frustrated if I'm the one who's doing it. And I know I need to hire someone to handle all of that and create systems in Entreport. I mean, we've got lead pages, we've got Entreport, like we've got all the things. And then we underutilize so much of what we invest in for our business. And I think that's true for a lot of small businesses. And it's just because I would rather do the things that light me up. And that's creating content and engaging with my audience and touring around the world. Like, these are things that I find incredibly valuable to my joy level. And so, sitting around trying to figure out how to create a sales funnel and then have ongoing webinars or emails that are going in that lead to somebody buying something, that does not turn me on. I, however, know I need it. And I love that we're finally at a point at a business where I can go, great, we actually can allocate part of the budget to hiring someone who totally loves doing that, whose like life is about creating these systems, and then let them build something that allows us to scale even more. So you're catching me at a point where we're just about to have those conversations and figure out who's next to come on our team.
Bonnie, I know you have a great first sales story. Could you walk us through those moments leading up to that first sale and how you felt when it happened?
When we launched the course, I remember we had a goal of 100 people enrolling. And my husband, Keith, and I were doing the math on that. And we're like, okay, so it's $497 course. It's 12 weeks. We want 100 people. We're like, who do we think we are? Like, that's never going to happen. You know, just like the wildest dreams, like that would completely change our lives right there. And just how modest everything was back then, and how beautiful that was. And I remember I had gone to speak at the University of California of Irvine. So UC Irvine is just outside of Los Angeles. So Keith and I had driven down there for me to do a speaking engagement in their business of acting class. We had launched the course that morning. And as we drove back up to Los Angeles, we were going to a showcase at the Television Academy in North Hollywood. And we stopped to get a bite to eat. So we'd stopped for lunch. It's the middle of the day, having spent the morning teaching. And then I'm like, I'm going to get on the Wi-Fi here and I'm just going to check in and see how things are going. And I opened up my email and there were dozens of enrollments. And we went over to PayPal and it said something like $21,000 was sitting in PayPal. And Keith and I looked at each other and just went, oh my God. And then he like waved the waiter over and ordered a bottle of champagne. And I'll never forget that moment of just like, we actually have money in the bank. Like, quick, move it. Like, get out the cash, stuff it in the mattress before somebody come and take it. Because like we were so used to scrapping and getting by on just a little bit here, a little bit there. And that's when I knew, holy shit, everything's changed. If we can keep doing this online thing, it may be slow growing at times, but if we can keep doing this, there's no limit to the number of people we can reach and the amount of change we can create in our world.
And at that point, had you done any kind of outreach or marketing to help with the launch of that program?
I had been emailing on Tuesdays, because I saw people emailing on Tuesdays, for, I want to say, 3 months before we decided to launch the online program. Now, I had had a weekly column since 1999. I had written a column for Backstage for 3-4 years, and then I moved over to Actors Access and was their casting columnist for 11 plus years. Overall, I had more than 16 years of weekly columns happening between these two publications. And so I regularly would get emails from people saying, could you send out an email when your column goes live? And I would go, my column is a weekly column. It goes live weekly. Just go look. Like, why do you need me to email you? Just go wake up Monday, go look, there it is. You know, and so it didn't make any sense to me, even though I would get asked repeatedly. So this is a place where I did not lean in to what people were telling me about my business early on. Finally, summer of 2011, I had started having these conversations with my client about taking things online, the curriculum in particular. And I said, I guess I need to start sending some emails. So I created a little MailChimp account and I sent out a tweet and I said, if you want to get emails from me, I'm going to give you some inbox loving. Just click over here and come join. And I had a big rush of people that joined all on that day. And then I started noticing people joining that when they would fill in the form, they would say they heard about me from a friend, or they were required to read my book in college or high school, God help us, things like that would allow me to go, oh, this is actually growing beyond just my group of friends. This is now not just people who know me that are starting to get emails. And I would send an email every week, just basically teasing the column and say, come on over and read this week's column. Then I was like, I guess I should start doing a PS. We've got an online course that we're going to launch. And I remember just being mortified and terrified that I was going to get unsubscribes from people who didn't want me selling shit. And just from a PS, sad little PS, that I was going to get people going, no, you are not allowed to make money. Go away. And I said, I'm just going to trust that the right people are going to be excited for this news. And honestly, at first, it was so challenging for me to have unsubscribes or to see people leave when I started selling. And I was like, you do realize I'm trying to help you be able to sell yourself as an actor. And I don't want you to be worried about asking for pay when you've worked for copy credit meals for years. Because in our entertainment industry, we work for free a long time before we start getting paid. And then we don't get paid really well until we just cross a line. And once we cross that line, we get paid ridiculously well. And our industry is very similar to online marketing in that regard, that you got to figure out what that line is. And you got to get to the point that you're okay no longer selling to the tire kickers because they weren't going to buy anyway. And it's almost like every time I pushed harder and went, I'm actually going to trust that they can handle more than a PS. I'm going to send out an email that is nothing but sales. I had to get over the few people that would leave the mailing list and realize that in exchange for those 5 people leaving my mailing list, I just got $5,000 more in my PayPal account. I think I'm okay with that exchange. But when you're first starting out, everything you're trying feels a little risky, and there's not a lot of roadmap action out there for what's going to work for you and your buyers. Because even though there are formulas that exist, obviously no one's got it all figured out, or we wouldn't be, all going, how do we get our open rate over 30%? And I'm like, the fact that there are people who have formulas out there, good for them, but you also have to be aware of when a formula is not going to work for your buyers. And of course, that's part of what we do in the entertainment industry is we're dealing with people who are in a relationship business, and building relationships comes with being consistent. And so sending that email every week and saying, here's what's in the column, I honestly think was the most important thing that I've done to get people even aware of what self-management for actors is and what it might be in their lives.
Bonnie, you've been so great. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Before I let you go, I have one more question. I'd love to know, have you gotten to the point where you've needed to hire on help? And if so, what was the tipping point for you?
Especially early on when you're like, I can't sleep at night if I'm responsible for someone else's rent because I'm already worried about my own rent. And in the early days of your business, that's a very real situation. I did not want to have panic attacks about what happens when I have to tell someone on my team, I need you to put in fewer hours because I'm not going to be able to pay you otherwise. Like, I never wanted that to happen. Once I've committed to somebody, I really want to be there for them. And I would start feeling like a failure to my team if things slowed down for us in any particular month. The way to combat that is to hire people on a project basis. Because then I could say, we have a Hollywood happy hour coming up. Nelson and I are going to get together and we're going to have hundreds of people join us. We're going to have guest speakers and everybody's going to pay $5 to come. And we need somebody that we can pay to do the gift bags or to do the raffle or to get email addresses off the in-person list and put them into the Yahoo group. So it started with very small projects that I could just pay somebody tens of dollars sometimes, or maybe $100 for whatever it is that they did. And then over time, I realized I have enough stuff going on. I need somebody who's going to actually be on the team full time. And the way we got to that was by having multiple part-time folks, because everybody's in the entertainment industry. Almost everybody who works for me is an actor or an actor/producer, actor/writer, actor/director, all of the above. And so they need lots of flexibility. And so they don't actually need full-time work. And so being able to piece together a team that has people who are really rocking a superpower that is unique to them, but that also is unique to our needs, and being able to piece those together in ways that we're all going to communicate smoothly and make things grow has been a process. Quite honestly, it's a process. And what my husband, Keith, always reminds me is we're dialing in, because I'm very quick to say, nope, she sucks, fire her. And he's like, you could take a minute and let her get better at this. And I don't have a lot of patience for people going through the learning process of the unique needs of our business. And I should be saying all of that in past tense, because I think now I've gotten past that. But there was a time when I didn't want to waste money on being wrong about a person on the team. And today we're a little leaner than we have been. We have had a staff of 10, all working part-time, most working virtually. But right now, we just yesterday had someone do her final day, and she had been with us for 3.5, almost 4 years. And so we are now piecing together where we want the next person we put on the team to live. Because I think I need to always have somebody who lives in New York. I'm considering hiring somebody who lives maybe in London, where I have another really big fan base, as well as obviously having people who are here in LA. But it's a dialing in process for all of us to learn what are we best at, what lights us up to do, and how do we stop Bonnie from doing all the things in the business just because she can. And that became, I think, probably the big turning point for the business. Was I made a list of things that I can do and things that only I can do. And anything that's on the things that I can do list, somebody else needs to be paid to do. The things that only I can do need to be the only thing that I pay attention to, because otherwise we're never going to grow the business.
Great advice. Thank you so much for chatting with us and our students today. We loved having you on.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Business Casual, the show where entrepreneurs find inspiration to start and grow their online business. And if you're not subscribed to the GrowthLab channel, make sure you click that subscribe button below so that you don't miss our next weekly interview. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.